Hello there, Earthling. This is my review of the Shure MV6 USB gaming microphone. It costs about $150. I bought it with my own money. If you want to check it out, I'll throw some links in the description down below. All of my recording settings will be listed in the doobly-doo as well as the description. And box what come within it. Let us discuss. What was that? What a shocker, you're going to get the microphone, a 1 meter USB-C to USB-C cable, a desktop stand which does have a 5/8 to 3/8 inch adapter on it, and a little bit of documentation. Next, as far as the build quality, I think this microphone feels really well put together. It has an all-metal body, and when you remove the foam, you have this very robust feeling metal mesh grill. On the bottom, you have the microphone mount. This looks like something off of a standard microphone clip, and it terminates into 5/8 inch threading. On the top, you have a capacitive mute button to mute or unmute the microphone. On the rear, you have the USB-C port to connect this to your device, as well as a 3.5mm headphone jack, and this does allow you to hear computer playback as well as zero latency monitoring. And whether you care or not, this mic was made in China. I will not read the specs to you, but I will have the graphs up on screen, and I will also have them listed in the description with a link to Shure's website in case you want to read any more of them or do whatever you do with links. Now I am spinning around the MV6 to 90 degrees. Here's how it sounds. Continuing around to 180 degrees. This is the rear. Continuing around to the second 90-degree angle. There it is. And then rotating and ending at the front of the mic. Now let's check the plosive rejection of the Shure MV6, and we are not currently using the digital popper stopper. Please provide pizza pronto. Please provide pizza pronto. Please provide prepared pizza pronto, pals. I was really giving it to that thing. Now I am right on top of the MV6, and here's how it sounds. Now about 3 inches off of the end of the MV6, and here's how it sounds. Now about 1 foot away from the MV6, about 2 feet away from the MV6, and about 4 feet away from the Shure MV6. Now I'm talking on the MV6 while typing on a Gateron Blue Switch keyboard to see how much of that it picks up. And for the gamers, this is the SAD W and spacebar keys. And just for fun, now I have engaged the real-time denoiser as I type on the SAD W and spacebar keys. Now here is how the MV6 sounds about 3 inches away from my mouth in a relatively well-treated room. And now here is how the MV6 sounds about 3 inches from my mouth in a completely untreated room as my thighs get tired from squatting. Let's also see if the MV6 has any kind of resonant frequencies if you bump the body. And I know the overwhelming majority of you will not do this, but if you remove the foam and tap on the grill, now let's see how effective the microphone is at rejecting shocks while it's on a boom arm. So I'll tap on my desk to see if it can reject that. And then I will tap on the boom arm. Next, let's hear how the mute button is implemented, so I will keep talking as I tap it again. Now I am unmuted. Tapping one more time, I am unmuted. Now I have the microphone on the provided desktop stand. As I sit it down directly in front of me and point it at my mouth, I would say this is about 10 to 12 inches from my mouth. No high pass filter, no popper stopper, no denoiser, and here is how it sounds in this situation. But what if I were to bump my desk while using the stand? I'll go ahead and bump my desk lightly. And what if I touch the microphone stand? Or what if I was typing on a keyboard while using the mic on the provided desktop stand? And if I initiate the real-time denoiser and the 150 Hz high-pass filter, does it make this better? Now let's do a quick walkthrough of the processing that's available for the Shure MV6. Up on screen, you have the Motive Mix app, and what we're going to do is find the MV6 in our sources. Then we're going to select the gear icon to open up the device settings, and this shows us everything that's available for this mic. At the top, you can mute or unmute the microphone. Also, you can lock the mute so the mute button on the microphone does not do anything. That's great if you're prone to grabbing the mic and you don't want to mute it. I'll leave that on for now. First setting we have is our gain. I like manually setting my level because I know how to do that. If you don't want to do that, you can just select auto level, and as you talk quieter, it will automatically increase the gain to make it a more reasonable level. And then if you get really loud, it will automatically turn down to ensure you do not clip. I don't like that though, because if you talk quiet, it brings up the noise floor. So I like setting my gain manually. Then we have the monitor mix section, and this allows you to adjust what you hear in your headphones. Mic level is going to increase how much of the microphone you hear. Playback level is going to adjust how much of your computer you hear in your headphones. Great to have this level of granularity there. Next, we have the tone option, and this is essentially changing the sound of the microphone. Up until now, I have been on natural, and then we have two ends of the slider. We can go to dark, and this is going to roll off some of that higher frequency information and make it sound a little bit darker, a little bit duller, not as bright and articulate. And then if we go to the opposite end, we will hear a lot more top end. You should hear the T's and the S's in my voice a lot more. And then if we go back to natural, this is the natural setting without the dark or the bright adjustment. Also, you can go anywhere between these options in 10% increments. So if you want to go 50% dark, you can do that. If you want to go 60% bright, you can do that. It's all going to come down to your personal preference and what tone you actually want out of the MV6. Next, we have a real-time denoiser, and they describe this as removing unwanted background noise from speech, and it should be turned off for singing or acoustic instruments. So let's go ahead and turn on some very obnoxious air conditioning noise in the background. Real-time denoiser is off. And now I have engaged it. Do you hear the air conditioning decrease? And does it alter the sound of my voice? Again, here's how it sounds without the denoiser turned on. You should hear a lot of that air conditioning. And now I have denoiser turned on, so it should remove some of that consistent background noise. Next, we have their digital popper stopper, and they describe this as reducing plosives, and it's optimized for speech and best turned off for instruments. So I will go slightly off axis and try to get some good plosives right into this thing. Please provide prepared pizza pronto. Pals, where's the prepared pizza? Then with the popper stopper, please provide prepared pizza pronto. Pals, provide the pizza panow. I'm an idiot. Without please provide pizza pronto, please provide pizza pronto. With please provide pizza pronto, please provide pizza pronto. And the last option we have is a high-pass filter. The two options we have are 75 Hz and 150 Hz. Currently, it is turned off. I will get right on top of the mic and whisper. Now I have engaged a 75 Hz high-pass filter, and you should hear a bit of the low end get cleared up. But then if I go to 150 Hz, you should hear a lot of the body in my voice get removed, but also a lot of that mud is also removed. Again, this is 150 Hertz, going back down to 75 Hertz. This is 75 Hertz, and then turning the high pass filter off. Those are all the settings, and that is all the processing that's available for the MV6 as of firmware 1.1.0.10. Let's move on with the review video. Now we're just going to do a whole bunch of spoken word comparisons against other mics because that is helpful. Here is a sample on the MV6, 3 inches off of the end with the input gain set at 18.5 dB. Let's hear the first mic. First up, I'm on the Samson Go mic, about 3 inches off on the Cardioid pattern with my input level set at 9.3%, recording 16-bit 48 kilohertz. This microphone typically costs between $30 and $50. And there you go, very budget entry-level microphone against a USB gaming mic. Back on the MV6 again, here's how it sounds. That's enough talking, let's move on. Now I'm on the Fifine K688, 3 inches off of the end, input level set at 87%, recording 16-bit 48 kilohertz. This costs about $75, and that's the Fifine. Here is the MV6 again. We're recording 24-bit 48 kilohertz. Let's hear another mic. Now I am on another Samson mic, the Samson Q2u, 3 inches off, input level set at 37%, again recording 16-bit 48 kilohertz. This microphone typically costs between $60 and $80, and this is a USB and XLR dynamic compared against the MV6. Here is the MV6 again, and none of the processing is enabled. Let's hear another comparison. Next up, I'm on the classic handheld microphone, the Shure SM7b, about 3 inches off of the end, running into the Focusrite 18i 22nd Gen, gain set at about 430, 24-bit 48 kilohertz. This microphone costs about $100, and there you go, XLR versus USB gaming. This is another palette cleanser on the MV6. The tone is set to natural. Let's go on. Now I'm on the SE Electronics V7, about 3 inches off. Gain on the 18i20 is set at around 3 o'clock. Still recording 24-bit 48 kilohertz. This microphone goes for about $100, and there you go, another XLR against a USB gaming. Here we go on another MV6 palette cleanser. You should know how I sound. Let's hear some more mics. Next, I'm on the Audio Technica AT2040 USB, about 3 inches off of the end, 24-bit 48 kilohertz. Input level is set at 37%. This microphone typically goes for about $150, and here's how it sounds compared to the MV6. I am back on the MV6 again. Here's how it sounds. No surprise. Let's move on. Now I'm on the Elgato Wave 3, about 3 inches off. In the Wavelength software, I have all processing disabled, and my input level is set at 11 dB, 24-bit 48 kilohertz. This microphone goes for about $150, and there you go. Here is your auditory Q-tip on the Shure MV6. Nothing has changed. Let's go to another mic. Next, I'm on the Rode Podmic USB, about 3 inches off of the tip, recording 24-bit 48 kilohertz. All of the processing is disengaged. My input gain is set at 50 decibels, and here is how the Rode Podmic sounds compared to the Shure MV6. I am a child. We have a handful more to go, so here is another palette cleanser on the MV6. Talk, 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 yap, yap, yap. Let's move on. Now I am on the original Shure MV7, about 3 inches off of the end of this thing, 24-bit 48 kilohertz. Input gain is set at 24 dB in the mix software, no processing enabled, EQ in flat mode. This went for $250 if I remember correctly. And that's the MV7 against the MV6. It's -1. Here is the MV6 again. You shouldn't be surprised. You've heard it a bunch. Let's do a few more. Now I am on the Shure MV7 Plus, about 3 inches off of the end. Input gain in the Mix app is 12.5 dB. All of the processing is disengaged. My firmware is 1.2.0.18, and this typically goes between 250 and 280, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. That's the MV7 Plus. Here is your penultimate palette cleanser on the MV6. I am still yapping. Let's go to the second to last microphone. Now we have jumped up in price quite a bit. I am on the Shure SM7b, about 3 inches off of the end. EQ is in neutral mode. The gain on the 18i20, 100%, 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. This microphone goes between $360 on sale and $400. And yep, that's the SM7b against the MV6. Let's go back and do one more. And here's the final sample on the Shure MV6. That's enough talking. Let's go to the last microphone right. Now I am on the Neumann, hello Neumann, U87 Ai, about 3 inches off of this on the Cardioid pattern, no pad, no filters. Gain on the 18i20 was dropped to about 1030 or 11, 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. This microphone costs about $3,700. It is a control from video to video. I am not doing this with the expectation that somebody's thinking, do I want the Shure MV6 or the U87? That's nobody, but as a control. Let's go to the music test. You may not do anything you say. 30 minutes or less and it's not even on its way. Now give it for free. I swear, I am not writing personal lyrics and then making them about food only to avoid embarrassment from exposing too much of my personal life. I would never do such a thing. I don't have emotions or feelings. Let's go to the conclusion. I hope this doesn't come across as mean or rude, but I think labeling this a gaming microphone is a fairly accurate descriptor of what you're getting. And first up, as far as pros, the microphone is from Shure, so the build quality of it feels really nice. You're also getting everything that you need to start recording: the microphone, the cable, and the stand. I love the granularity you're able to go into in the mixing software to create your headphone mix and adjust exactly how much of the microphone and how much of the computer you want to hear. The mute button is also implemented really well, and it seems like there's a gradual fade in or out to avoid any kind of popping or clicking. And lastly, you get a little bit of digital signal processing, or DSP, with the EQ tone slider, the digital popper stopper, the background noise rejection, and the high pass filter. And then as far as cons, the microphone didn't do the best job at shock rejection when it was on the provided desktop stand. So if you're going to be gaming or hitting your desk a lot, I highly recommend getting some other form of microphone stand for this to kind of acoustically decouple it from your desk. And secondly, this is a very nitpicky item, but the cable is 1 meter. It's a little bit short. I would like another 1.5 feet, if not a full 2 meter long cable. And now, what are my overall thoughts and opinions of the Shure MV6? As far as the overall sound, I would classify this as an upper mid and treble focused microphone. The low end is rolled off and very controlled. The low mids are inoffensive, relatively neutral and fine. Then when we get to the upper mids and the treble, we get quite a significant boost. It is very upper mid and treble dominant. And then, just like most dynamic microphones, it rolls off once we get into the air frequencies. I need to preface this by saying I understand this is a gaming microphone and not a music microphone, so take this with a grain of salt. On the electric guitar, It's fine. Rolled off in the low end, neutral low mids, then that big presence and treble boost. Kinda sharp, not the best. It's fine. On the acoustic guitar, I very rarely love dynamic microphones for that instrument. This is no exception. I am just not a fan of how it sounds. For singing vocals, I found the big boost in the presence and treble to make it sound a touch artificial. It doesn't sound natural, so I don't love it for that application either. And finally, for spoken word, you get that rolled off and controlled low end. The low mids are relatively neutral sounding. Then you get this big boost in the upper mids, the presence, and the treble region, which makes this sound very bright, and it also gives you this very crisp sound. And to wrap up, would I recommend the Shure MV6? Kind of. Tonally, I am not the biggest fan of this microphone. I preferred pretty much every other microphone that I compared it against in terms of the raw sound. So if you are just looking for raw sound, nothing else, I think there are many better options out there. The reason I am saying kind of is because this has DSP processing, limited DSP processing. So if you're looking for a dynamic mic that has a little bit of EQ functionality, some background noise rejection, a popper stopper, and a high-pass filter, and you don't have any other way to add real-time processing to your audio, then if you don't hate the sound and this is within your budget, then I think it's a fine option. But if you have the ability to process your audio in real time using some kind of third-party software and you don't need the processing to be done on microphone, then I think there are many other microphones that give you a better jumping off sound that may be a better fit for you. So who do I think this microphone is for? As far as podcasters or musicians, I don't think this really fits the bill. I think there are much better sounding microphones out there, and if you get this, you're going to be paying for features that you don't really need in DSP, because in most cases when you're recording a podcast or music, you don't need to be burning in that processing in real time. But for gaming or Discord or voice chats, I think that's who this microphone is really for. I use this microphone in a number of voice calls, and I got zero complaints from anybody, and many of them are audio enthusiasts and very nitpicky, and they didn't complain. So if that is you, if you're a gamer, if you are just using it for voice calls and you like the features as well as the sound and the package and the price, I say go for it. But because I am a podcaster and I record music, I am giving it an emphatic, nah, it's fine. Okay, bye.